Dorothy Watson, and I was a weaver, salters. I did warping as well, and tying on, and quill winding, and some comb winding.
Where were you born?
I was born the 3rd of August 1941 at Trowbridge.
Which mills did you work in?
Salters.
What age did you start work?
I went there straight from school at 15.
Had you wanted to do anything else?
I did, but my aunties and my sister worked in the cloth factory, and I was told that's what I would do, but I didn't really want to do it. But when I got into the mill, I found it okay.
How many members of your family had been in the mill?
It was my sister, my older sister, she did weaving, and my aunties, which was 6 aunties, worked in different mills.
What jobs did they do?
Weaving, coning, mending, tying on, all the jobs really what women did in the mill.
What job did you start with?
Quill winding for a few weeks, and then I went tying on for a few weeks before they put me learning to weave.
Did you want to be a weaver?
I preferred that out of all the other jobs, weaving. It was more interesting.
And how did you get the job? Did you have to apply for it, or did your auntie just get you?
Yes, my sister. I think it was my sister, because I didn't want to work there. My sister got it for me through my auntie, probably. So I didn't go. No, didn't go for an interview or anything like that.
What hours did you work?
8 o'clock in the morning to 6 in the evening, 5 days a week. Saturday mornings up to 12 o'clock was overtime.
And how did you get up in time to go for 8 o'clock?
Well, I lived by McKay's and McCaw's cloth factory, and McKay's siren went at 7:20, which I got up at 7:20 with that. So I lay in bed until it went, and I would get out of bed at 7:20 and have some breakfast. And when I heard the McCaw's hooter go at 7:50, I would leave home to arrive at Salters at 8 o'clock, or a couple of minutes before, to clock in.
Were there any meal breaks, and where did you eat your meals and snacks?
We had morning tea break and an afternoon tea break, which I took standing up, had my tea break, weaving, didn't stop.
Did you take it with you?
Yeah, so go to we had a tea man with a tea urn. You turn your loom off and go and get your cup of tea or a biscuit. You sell biscuits as well, and bring it back to the loom. Or stand up or sit down. We had stools to sit on, if you were lucky enough, and have your tea break while you were working. But we had an hour for lunch, midday, which you stopped, to have your hour for lunch.
Was there a canteen?
Yes, there was a canteen if you wanted. They didn't prepare meals for you. You had your sandwich. But I used to go home, being only about 8 minutes walk. I used to go home for my lunch. Yeah.
What did your job involve?
What, weaving?
Yes.
Weaving the warp, really. I used to help it. When the beam was put in, the warp, I used to help tie it on sometimes. If the other loom, I did run 2 to 4 looms, sometimes 6 looms I ran. I used to help tie on my new warp, and the tuner would help you get it, going. And my job was to, weave the cloth. And when you finished that length of cloth, your tuner used to come and carry it out to be passed, to have it checked, just in case you had offshoots or hose or whatever. You did the pattern wrong. So
What different kinds of cloth did you weave?
Did flannel, which was about the easiest flannel. Cavalry twill, herringbone. I did. We did a lot of skirt material for gore at the time, and I did tennis ball fabric to cover the tennis balls. Which was a lot of what was called Venetian. It was like they make men's trousers and rain jackets out of that. I think that's about the main types of cloth I did.
Who set up the patterns?
Your tuner would set up the pattern for you and get the new pattern running for you, and then you would carry on.
And who chose the colours?
Well, that was done like at the office with like the pattern designers or whatever. Pattern designers would send off little samples to buyers, and if the buyer ordered that sample, well, you would have orders to do it in those colours or shades, you know.
What did you get paid?
Well, weaving was piecework. My first wage packet, which I was working at Salter's only probably for about a month, 6 weeks. My first wage packet when I went on piecework was £4 something, which I thought was great. So that's about twice as much as what I was getting when I started. It was about £2.49 in those days. So I got £4 something, but that was the first week I did piecework, but it soon, got more as I got more experience, and it in the end I was earning more than what the tuners were being on piecework.
Did they like that?
Well, I don't know.
Didn't they know?
Probably a young girl under 21. I think I was earning more than a tuner or any other man down there. Probably from the age of about 17. Yeah. So that's what. Why you enjoyed the work as well, because the money at the time was good.
Did you go on any works outings?
Not many myself, because I think they tended to go on more outings before my time. My Auntie Rose used to arrange a lot of the works outings, and when I arrived, like 1955-56, they got less. The only one I went on, I went to Brighton. We had a special train to take the whole factory to Brighton for the day, which was very nice. And Auntie Rose arranged a trip to Bristol Cinema to see Ben-Hur. I went on that one. But she did arrange weekends at Blackpool. Every autumn she'd take a coach up to Blackpool, but I never went on these. My older sister did, and lots of others, but I never did.
They thought you were too young?
Probably, yeah, probably. I had quite a strict dad, probably.
How long were the holidays each year?
We had a fortnight for summer break, last week in July, first week in August. And apart from that, it was mostly bank holidays. Or, that was basically all we had. Going back in the 50s, late 50s, 60s, early 60s.
And was there a works club?
Yes, there was a works social club. I never used it, but it was used quite a lot by some people.
Was it mainly drinking or dancing?
No, I think they did a lot of games like table tennis, skittles, and darts, that sort of thing. They did. Yes, I think my husband, even though I didn't know him at the time, he used to go up there with his friends. No, they didn't do much. I don't think they did any not dancing. It was. They had a little disco, I don't know. No. We used to have an annual Christmas dance, which we used to go to, and you would get Ken Pont in there. He was there with his wife. So that was the only social, and the annual Christmas dance.
What did you enjoy about the job?
Well, I suppose what I enjoyed most was making the patterns, the cloth. You know, what I enjoyed most, I suppose. The actual conditions weren't very good. You know, it wasn't a very clean job.
What the conditions? Do you think they had caused any illness?
Well, I don't think so. I know some people who's been in the weaving shed for a long time, older than myself, say they think they've got death because of this, because of the noise was terrible. You know, the noise was bad, and we didn't wear any ear protection at all, like probably you would nowadays. But my ears are okay. But no, I don't know anybody who had any illness because of the factory. Not myself.
What about when the shuttles used to fly?
Oh yeah, the shuttles, they used to come out quite regular, and this could be dangerous. I've never had any really bad accident with a shuttle myself, only like on the arm. It's hurt me on the arm or in the back. But some ladies have had them knock them in the head, you know, and they have not been knocked out, you know, for a little while, you know, probably a couple of minutes.
Was there a works nurse or first aid?
No, I don't think we did. No, I don't think so. Not in the beginning. No. I think towards the end when I finished there was, but I don't think there was when I arrived in the 50s. Not that I know of. They might have had a first aid box.
Did any dangerous accidents occur?
Well, I don't know about the other parts of the factory. I never knew really what was going on at the mill and the other parts. But in the weaving shed, only really bad one that I know of was one of the tuners. He did die from his injury. He bent over, and the loom came forward and crushed his skull, which he died of that injury. I really don't know too much about that. That's the only really bad thing that happened.
Did you do any training for the job?
Well yeah, I had a lady learn me how to weave. Betty Ivan, she learnt me how to weave. And then when I went on to the automatic looms, Philip Marley learnt me how to use the automatic.
Yes.
So
Did you have any continuing training after that?
No.
Or go to technical school?
No technical school. No. What you was taught actually in the weaving shed, you know, by a former weaver.
Did you belong to the trade union?
Yeah, most people did belong to the trade union. Yeah.
And did you ever collect the money or help out?
Yes, I did this. I was about 16 or 17. They had no one to collect the contributions, and I volunteered, but not because of union views or anything. I just thought, you know, it was a nice thing to do, to go and collect the money, and I did this for a while, really, to fill in until they found someone. But I was no sort of shop stewardess or anything like that.
Did the union get any improvement in conditions?
Yes, it was very cold in the weaving shed, and when it rained it leaked. But on one occasion I remember we all shut our looms off and walked out because it was very cold. There was no heating, wasn't adequate heating, and doing this they did put some more heating in for us, so you know that worked. So, which we had to do. If we wanted anything done, we had to, you know, stand up for ourselves. Otherwise, you know, conditions were quite bad, really.
Did they get any improvements in pay?
What, through the union?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
How did your pay compare with other people in Trowbridge at the time?
Well, at the time, weavers, It was pretty good money. I think that's why my mum thought I should go into the factory, really, because the money was very good. Office work and shop work weren't very much in those days. In weaving, you could really earn a good wage. You could earn, more than an average man's wage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What chances were there for promotion or changing your job? Getting on?
Nothing like that. I mean, if you were a weaver, that was it.
You said your Aunt Rose was had worked her way up a bit.
Well, I think probably where she'd been in the factory all her life. I mean, she just. I suppose I don't know who was forewoman when she was young, but probably someone left and she, took over. I don't know.
Foreman.
Form lady, yeah. She used to do, a lot. Yes, Auntie Rose.
Did she deal with the management?
No, not up in the office. No, she was like the shop floor worker.
Yes.
No, she got nothing to do with up in the office. It was shop floor.
Yes.
No, Sid Smith, who was the foreman, he was actually over Auntie Rose, but she was more the manual form woman,
Yes.
Make sure everything was running smoothly and
So she discussed problems with the foreman.
Probably, yes.
Raised them with him.
Yes, yeah.
What did both men and women do the same job?
We had a few men weaving, probably 3 or 4. But usually men were tuners. We didn't have lady tuners. Warping, it was mostly men, but I became a warper. I was only lady warper. Comb winding was ladies, girls. Quill winding was for girls. Really, in the weaving shed, it was just men. Men did warping and tuning. All the other jobs were done by girls.
So most of the employees were
women. Yeah, in the weaving shed.
Yes.
Yeah. And you had a few boys which did a lot of fetching and carrying, like chains. They had young boys doing them, making them up usually.
Yes.
Pattern chains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had usually boys wanted to become tuners.
Yes. So, did the tuners consider themselves to be in charge of the weavers, or not really, or they just work together?
Yeah, just work together, really. No, they weren't in charge. I think you probably thought you was in charge of the tuners, really. I don't know. It was mutual, really. Yeah.
And if you got a good tuner,
if you didn't have a good tuner, because it's like any mechanic. If you've got a good car mechanic, he can get your car going well. Well, if you haven't got a good tuner, if you don't get your loom running properly, well.
What happened when you got a bad tuner? Did you try and offload him?
I don't think you've had any say in it, really. But I was lucky. I always had quite a good tuner. Frank Priest was my tuner.
Yes.
But then I had Philip Marley for a while. Like if your tuner was away, you would go around and find. You have to go around and find one because you all had your tuner.
Yes.
I don't know how many tuners there were. Probably about 5 tuners. We had so many looms, and probably if they were away, you'd have to go and find one for that day,
Yeah. Were any practical jokes played on you or your workmates?
No, I don't think so. No.
And what relationship did you have with the boss or the people in the office?
Well, Sid Smith was the foreman. Sort of just did our work and just, we didn't really have much relationship with him. And Ken Ponton, who was, I don't know what you call him, he was higher than Sid Smith. You only saw him when you had your cloth passed, so we didn't really have much to do with him at all.
How would they pass the cloth?
Well, the tuner would cut a piece out and staple it to your ticket, which had the pattern worked out on there, and you would have to, before you started weaving that cloth, you'd have to take it up to head office to see Ken Ponton, and he would check it, and he would pass it. Until you got him to pass it, you couldn't carry on, you know. So you had to get 2 signatures, your tuner and Ken Ponton's, before you could start actually weaving that warp.
And did you ever weave a wrong pattern?
No, not I remember.
It's usually
yeah, because you had 2 people to check, so yeah.
And the colours were chosen?
Well, the office, probably by the buyers. You know, they would send off samples to buyers, and yes.
And when did you leave the job?
About 1974, 1975 I left. I was warping at the time, warper, because work got slack because of the mills. Mills were closing down, and there wasn't the work. So weaving there wasn't so much to weave, but they were one short of a warper. Someone left, so I went warping. And that was 1975 I left.
Yes.
So, because I was having a baby, and it closed a few years later.
Did you see, in its heyday, did you see a large number of employees and then it gradually gets smaller and smaller?
Yes.
When would you say there were most employees?
What time was the most in my time there?
Yes.
Well, when I started, really, 1955, 56, and I think it was probably about 1964-ish, I think it started. Early 60s it started to get slacker. You know, there wasn't much work to go around. Yes. And of course, you know, they were starting to put people off.
Yes.
Yes.
What members of the older generation, your aunties and that sort of thing, what sort of jobs have they done? The aunties who've been in the mill?
Well, actually, jobs in the mill. I know 2 done mending the cloth. One's done coning, and Auntie Rose, she's done most things, being in charge. You know, she's done most things. I think that's what most of them had done. They might have done other jobs before I knew them, you know, when I was smaller, years ago. But when I was in the factory, that's what they were doing: mending, coning. And Auntie Rose, like in the tying on shed, and you know, doing all sorts.